Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime project video. Now, there's a few things I do have to mention. Like, recently there's been issues with the Union event and some even connection issues and whatnot. The devs are indeed aware of this. I don't know if they're going to come up with a proper compensation or not for all that, but just know that they've already been bombarded with people asking about that on Discord and possibly even support. So yeah, they already know. But also currently there's a tower event as well. So do that if you want some more weapon enhancement bricks, especially if you're not putting any money towards the game, which is honestly what I'm doing, because I stopped tossing money at the game since I've honestly gotten a little bit tired of quite a lot of scripts they had recently. So I'm pretty much playing this game like a free player, but I'm not a free player, if that makes any sense. So tower is definitely the best time to get bricks, considering that you're going to need those for break limiting weapons, and if you are putting little to no money at the game, your chances of getting those is very, very low. So definitely go through tower. Also, you can indeed claim your stuff from the Union event, so they have fixed that. I don't know if there's any compensation to go with it aside from the measly amount of magic jewels they gave, which isn't really all that much. But there might be more stuff about that along the way. I don't know for sure. Now, this event that's coming up is a Halloween event, and it's fire based, so you will want a water team for the advantage. You don't want to use wind, so keep that in mind. And it's basically same characters, different elements. They're doing that quite a lot, and that's not even Nutaku's fault. That's DMM's, because that's how they came up with things. So we're going to have to go through it just like their side did. So expect a lot of characters to get like different variations of themselves. In fact, I don't know who the Halloween characters are that's supposed to launch, but there will be Halloween characters that come back. Unfortunately, if you want the old Halloween characters, you have to pay money for them. And one of them just so happens to be water, I do believe. But anyways, going on to this event, Fluerty or Fluerty, is hard to pronounce her name. She's coming back. I do believe her maid is coming back as a playable character as well. I forgot her name. But the whole thing with this event, it's a raid event, so you can't get help from other players. So you basically go through storyline, do standard to get expert materials, do expert to get Ragnarok materials. So that said, it's the same old stuff as before if you've done a raid event before, so I don't really need to go over that too much. That said, you probably would want to get this Eidolon. The weapon is depending on how strong you are. But going into the event itself, you are fighting the same boss regardless of difficulty. It's just going to be harder each time you go to a higher difficulty. So that said, the special tactics with this event, she will always do AoE damage unless she does a normal burst. So keep in mind that she will always do AoE damage for like almost the entire fight. So normal mode, she will deal a lot of, well, not a lot, but it's just fire damage to one character on your team, and then she'll also put a stackable debuff rate increase, meaning that she will have an increased chance of putting debuffs on you as the fight continues. It is also the same case with her raging mode, only it's an AoE damage attack she does. Now, as for the triggers, every normal attack she will put up AoE fire damage on you and a pumpkin bomb debuff. Now, this can be removed, but it'll be very hard to do so later on. And keep in mind that it is a damage over time, but unlike previous ones, like say some burn, I think it was flame effect or burn, or poison, stuff like that. This one happens to increase your burst gauge whenever it goes off. So that said, it is literally increasing your burst gauge every time it gives a tick or so, and this can stack. I don't necessarily know if it's going to increase how much burst gauge you get each time it stacks, but it will increase the damage for sure. It starts off at 1000, and then the higher difficulties it will go up to 1500, and then up to 2500. So considering that it lasts for 3 turns, you could easily start taking like close to 10,000 a turn. So you may want to pay attention to that on the higher difficulties. So definitely bring a healer for that type of stuff. Also, when you use your bursts, this is where things get interesting. The first time when you use your burst and at least 3 of your characters do it, all the normal attacks get cancelled and all the pumpkin bombs get removed. So that's the trick to removing the pumpkin bombs. You have to do bursts, otherwise they will stay on you. Now, the second time you do that, it'll be AoE fire damage to your team, and then the pumpkin bombs get removed. The third time, large fire damage to one person, and it increases her debuff rate, and then the pumpkin bombs get removed. And then any consecutive times after that, it will be AoE fire damage to everyone, probably a large amount of it as well. She'll up her debuff rate, and on top of that, remove the pumpkin bombs. So the more times you do it, the worse it will get. But you still want to do it if you're taking too much damage from the pumpkin bomb. So you definitely don't want this fight to drag out, or you'll start taking quite a lot of damage. That's the main trick with this. Now for standard difficulty, she has 850,000 HP. For expert, it is 7.2 million. And for Ragnarok, it is 21 million. And keep in mind that the attack patterns are basically the same. The only difference is the fact that, one, the pumpkin bombs will start dealing more damage the higher the difficulty, so it'll be 1,000 on standard, it'll be 1,500 for expert, and it'll be 2,500 for Ragnarok. More so, her orb count's going to change as well. So, like, well, no, not orb count. The entry fee, of course. That's what I meant to say. So you're going to end up needing more to go through each raid. So if you have used up your resources from Union event, this is probably a good time to refill them. So just be wary of entering other people's raids when you do that, because it will start getting quite costly. At least when you try to grind things out. If you're one of the really weaker players, that goes especially double for you, because of the fact that you probably won't have too many of these materials, and you probably won't be able to kill the stuff yourself, so you're probably going to have help or jump into other people's raids to get anything done. So this is a good time to restock on anything, refilling your BP. There's drops for AP, there's like +1 stuff. This is a very good time for a free player to grind, so keep that in mind. Speaking of which, the grind targets, if you're just getting the SSR stuff, 50 Divine, 55 Devil. If you want all the gacha tickets on 40 Divine and 82 Devil. You want the Dragonic Eye Shards, 200 Divine, 90 Devil. You want all the Magic Jewels, 225 Divine and 95 Devil. That's probably the point where you could stop if you're trying to get a lot of the basic stuff. But if you're trying to get everything, then it's 250 Divine and 100 Devil. So you need all those souls from doing the different raids. And of course, you can only get Devil souls from Ragnarok. You can get Divine from the other two. Now, going into what everything does. Now, here's the reason why you're going to want the Eidolon for sure. Summoning her is an increase of your debuff rates, given to everybody. This is a very rare type of buff, so that's going to be something you're probably going to want. More so, using her as a main Eidolon will up your fire elemental attack and your HP. Fire tends to lack a little bit on HP unless you get some of the gacha stuff, so That said, it can be very helpful. And then her base stats are actually pretty good. 600 HP, well 606 to be exact, and a little bit over 2100 attack. So she'll be a good addition for your sub slots or your main slot, regardless of your fire team. Now, the bow is also pretty interesting, considering the fact that it is an SSR weapon that has a large assault, but it doesn't final break, so it's a bit of a placeholder. But if you put it on your soul, it will up debuff rate whenever your soul bursts. So it could be an interesting tactic, but it's not really necessary. It's just more so if you need more assault, then here's another weapon for you. Now, for the wind weapon, because apparently you were getting a wind SR Kamihime for this. That gives small assault and small defender. Small isn't all that great, however, the fact that it gives 2 effects makes this a little bit more worthwhile, so it's a better placeholder than the other SR weapons, which happen to be just assault or just defender. So you have a decent starter weapon for wind, a decent starter weapon for fire, and a very good Idolent for fire. So that's what you got. The others is just normal stuff, and I don't know why this says 78 like this. It's literally just 78 HP. It doesn't have 7,000. If it did, then that would probably be a very abusable weapon. But it's just 78 HP. I don't know why it's like that. Now, as for the missions, it's the same old stuff. Go help other people 3 times. Go start your raid 3 times, and you'll get stuff for that. Expert only for like expert, you have to use our Kamihime, our rarity Kamihime. So that said, you can't use your SR or SSR if you're trying to get that one, and you have to solo it. So you have to do expert alone with our Kamihime. Ragnarok is probably going to be very easy for me. That's light element, so it doesn't matter what rarity, just use light element for your entire team. And like I said, that's probably going to be very easy for me. I could probably do both with my light team with how much weapon power I've got for them. But in that case, use whoever you can for the R mission, the R rarity mission, and if your light team isn't built up, then you can't really do the Ragnarok one. There's not too much you can do for that. Now, going into what our free Kamihime does. She is wind, like I said, but for some weird reason, she's got that unique effect that Amon had for her fire SSR version. She'll treat any darkness based buffs as wind. Like any darkness increases for her attack power is going to count as wind. So she'll also buff her own darkness element when she bursts. But she is basically a mini version of the Fire Amon. The only real difference is the fact that she's putting a barrier instead of damage cut and debuff immunity instead of burst gauge. Other than that, she's literally like a mini version of Fire Amon, like the same stuff. So when she does a wind damage on everybody, on all enemies, it'll also do an additional dark hit, and she will buff up fire, wind, thunder, and water attributes for all allies. And it doesn't come with an attack power buff either. I've noticed that as well. So there isn't too much I can really say. The barrier is 500 HP, quite small, but still better than nothing. And attribute resistance is going to be 20% for that. So what makes this interesting about her too is the fact that you could indeed raise her for tower to put on a team. It's just the fact that since you'll still count as wind, it won't help for the element thing. But you can indeed put her with a dark team to get like 1 extra person if you really need it. Just remember, it's going to sacrifice the element mission if you do that, because you want the current tower is light based, so you want dark element characters. But because of her special effect, you can actually use her on a dark team if you want to ignore that element mission. So she can indeed count as a second dark character. Same thing goes for SSR Firearm if you happen to have her. Again, that's a last resort if you have a strong dark team but they don't have enough firepower for different stuff. You can get a little bit more since those two characters get darkness based boosts that correspond to their current elements or whatever. Now, other than that, there isn't too much more I can say because honestly, given the state of the game, it's like Nutaku said is going through a lot of stuff and people are definitely getting fed up with them. So I don't know how long that's going to last. As for DMM side, I heard it's like playing musical chairs with the rankings, but the interesting thing is that there's another platform that does this type of stuff called Jorin, and you can transfer DMM Global progress over to Jorin. And if you pay very close attention, you can notice that when you load up stuff, it connects to DMM anyways. Like it'll say connecting to DMM games when you start the game up and look at the loading address. So that said, it may be very possible that the Nutaku side might be able to transfer progress over to Jorin or DMM Global. However, I can't guarantee that, and I don't know if they're going to actually go through with that. It's a possibility, considering things, but it may not happen. So it's something to keep in the back of your mind, basically. So it may be possible to transfer progress over to a better server. However, there's no guarantee it will happen. So it's something to think about. Honestly, that's probably a case where I would bombard the Nutaku devs about that. Like, just literally bombard them with that and show that people want that type of thing, and maybe they'll consider it. But anyways, that's all I got for this. More just going to come soon because I've racked up 8 tower keys. I'm going to end up recording a tower video that uses all of them at once, so that should pop up pretty soon. I will have a Genshin Impact video up pretty soon as well because I did record more Abyss and I was struggling with half of it. But that's all I can say. Again, more of this will come soon, and best way to treat Kamihime Project at this point, I should say, if you're really intent on continuing on any version, treat it as if you plan ahead, but also don't be surprised if it suddenly says, okay, game's closing. Because anything really could happen with any version. So that's all I can really say about that. It's best to just have backup games in case you can't do anything with Kamihime Project. But anyways, that's all for this. More to come soon, and take care.